Amp in the time machine, come take a ride through the 1930s with style and stride. Books, films, and fashion, the songs that remain. We regret nothing, the past calls our name.
Welcome back to We Regret Nothing. I'm your host, Sean, and today we're stepping away from the screen and radio dial to explore another way the 1930s expressed itself, through fashion. Over the course of this season, Michelle, Andrea, and I have been building a cultural time capsule of the 30s, selecting the films, books, songs, and radio shows that best capture the spirit of the 1930s. Today, we begin the final category, fashion. Clothing in the 30s tells a fascinating story. After the bold experimentation of the 20s that we discussed, this brought a shift toward elegance, practicality, and resilience. Even in the middle of the Great Depression, style continued to evolve, shaping identity, status, and everyday life. To help guide us through the world of 1930s fashion, we're joined today by our special guest, Lori, who brings a deeper historical perspective to the trends, silhouettes, and cultural meaning behind the clothing of this era. So in this episode, we're going to introduce the first 10 items from our list of the top 20 fashion elements of the 30s. And then over the next 2 episodes, we'll debate them, narrow them down to a top 10, and eventually decide which 5 belong in the capsule to represent the look of this decade. So let's open the wardrobe and start with the first 10 pieces of fashion that help define this era. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello.
Hello, Andrea.
Yep.
Welcome, Lori, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So to get started, what are your thoughts overall about fashion in the 1930s?
My thoughts overall is it was very influenced by film. What I was researching about it is that it was going more a feminine look, but it still had a practicality about it because it was still, like you said, it was, in the end of the Depression. And so there were more ladies going in the workforce. So they really had to think about, hey, I still want to look feminine, but I have to be practical. A lot of ladies were still making their own clothes. And so it just kind of evolved into a more feminine style from the more boyish style of the 20s.
Yeah. Andrea, anything to add to that or other thoughts?
I fucking love 1930s fashion. When you sent this list, I was like, I own that, I own that, I own that, I own that. And Michelle will tell you, because it would often be, I'd be like, we're going to go to lunch. And she'd be like, what the fuck are you wearing? Not in a bad way, but I wasn't aware we were somewhere in it. So 1930s fashion, I think is such a twist. To use something that said so much though, but it's like 1920s walked so 1930s could run like this. It's so fantastic.
I'm going to make a leap here that there was a resurgence of this fashion in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Or are you a time traveler?
Both.
Okay, got it.
But don't ask me about my business.
Okay. Michelle, any other thoughts?
No.
Okay. So I obviously fashion is not my topic. I'm wearing sweatpants right now, but my kind of impression of the 30s, a little bit like what you said, but I think the 30s gets overlooked a lot because the 20s seem to be like really memorable. There was a lot of, we talked about this, all the transformation for women, all the 20s just seemed like the roaring 20s following World War I. There was this fashion thing. And then in the 40s, the war, a lot of the fashion, which we'll talk about in further episodes, were defined. But the 30s, I feel like, kind of get overlooked a lot as far as fashion goes. So I'm excited to talk about all of this with you. So let's get right into it. Number one, bias cut dresses, but really we're talking about bias cut as in fashion, right? So I think we'll get into that. But Lori,
Yes.
how do you feel about a bias cut gown?
Beautiful. I mean, because it's meant to drape the body, hug the body. So when a lot of the 30s, a lot of the look was a low back. And then kind of, off the shoulder just a little bit. So it was meant to really give a glamorous look. So the bias cut really lended itself well to a lot of different fabrics.
Okay. And Andrea?
I just, what Lori said, I love a bias cut. I have good on you, Madeline, because it was Madeline Vianney.
Yep.
I'm like, I love this. I remember when my mom used to make me dresses that she was always worried about the bias cut. It didn't matter not to me. I was like, just make sure I look good, Rose. But I love the hug, the flow, to me, it seems very sensual. Like back in my really small days, I wanted my wedding dress to be just the high, like this cross, and then bias through the hips, and then the back just nothing, like a little bow right above where it would be a peekaboo. For you or whoever I married, I don't know, but yeah.
Michelle?
All right, so clearly I'm not a girly girl, but this is a dress I always wish I could wear. And I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we're
I
not
don't
going to
have-
talk. We're not going to do
I
that.
don't
Listen.
what I'm gonna say.
We can talk off air. We'll take this. We'll take this off screen, if you will.
Nope. No, I loved like particularly like the draping in the back where it would often look like a pleat or come down and then just like
Yep.
right above the moneymaker.
Yes.
It's like looks great. Love it.
Yeah, so the bias cut part of it, I think you all kind of explained it, but I had no idea what it was. But this curvaceous silhouette this gown became known for is the idea is instead of being cut following the straight line of the weave, the flowing fabrics of these dresses were literally cut on the grain. And with that pattern positioned at a 45-degree angle on woven fabric, that's what gave this the look that you all were describing it. And again, became known as bias cut. I don't know why it's called that. Maybe one of you do.
Because you're cutting it on the bias.
What is the bias?
That's against the grain, against the weave.
Never heard of it
This
before.
is a bias cut. You know when you cut a steak against the grain, that's a bias cut. When you see scallions on something at an Asian restaurant and they're kind of diamond-y pointy, that's a bias cut.
Okay. I learned. Okay, we can stop. I learned something today, so we're good.
Yay.
It's a 45-degree angle. Sean.
Yeah, they make.
Why'd you sound like Dana? Okay, there's Dana.
It's a 45-degree angle, Sean.
Lori, what were you saying?
No, it's just a fancy name.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'm not a fancy guy, so let's bring it down to Sean level. Okay, so number 2, wide leg trousers specifically for women. Andrea.
Yes. You know how what do you have written?
Yes.
Yes. I love wide leg trousers. They are, which sadly tried on a pair this week and they just didn't. Those palazzo pants. You just sighed. Because that led to a whole breakdown and me rocking back and forth in the corner. Exactly. I love that they originally they're like beach pajamas,
Just
like
crazy.
but beachwear, lounging, gardening, as we all know, we've all resorted together. So we do all have like something like this. Cotton, linen, silk. I mean, this is great at one point, and I want to get back to this. The widest opening on the bottom was 24 inches.
Girl, please.
And with those mermaid stripper shoes that I used to have, that would look so cute.
It would.
Love them.
Okay, Michelle.
Hell yes. As a big thighed girly, I'm fucking here for it. And you also all know so these had a sad resurgence in the 90s.
Palazzo pants.
Jinkos and shit like that.
Oh God, that. Oh, I didn't.
But
yeah, I
just recently they've come back and I bought as many pairs I could get my fucking hands on because I'm here for it. I love the way they fit. I love the way they feel. I love the way they look. I just love them.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not culottes kind of fall in this I'm not as big a fan of those, right? But
Those have always made me feel like a golfer.
I do
in
like
the
I
30s.
I like them.
Lori.
Whoa. Wearing them?
Hell yeah.
Wearing them right now.
Wide leg. Super comfy.
Oh
This one
God, I
has
could fit right
pockets,
in
So
there
cute.
with you, girl.
right?
Scooch
And a lot of
over.
them had the sailor
Yes.
in there, which was popular in the 30s, but I'm not about that look. But I think they're the whole thing for the 30s was accentuating the waistline, right? And so this was a little bit more forgiving when you had the wide leg, and they're comfortable, and ladies wore them for everything, whether they dressed them up as
Everything.
a satin or they were wearing denim or wool up to work outside.
And to go back to like, so for that part of it, like where they were like, oh, you have your kitchen, pajamas
Yeah,
and
right.
your
Your gardening,
pajamas.
yeah.
But also like when you dress this up like Katharine Hepburn, right?
Oh,
Tiny waist, wide leg.
right.
It just looks great.
It
It
looks
looks great.
classy.
Mm-hmm.
Really
With a
does.
belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3. So double-breasted suit jacket, but really we can just talk about, in general suits for men in the 30s. Michelle?
Big fan. I love a double-breasted suit on a man. It looks amazing. I will also add, I love it on a woman. Have you seen Zendaya
Mhm.
in a
Oh.
double-breasted suit? Friends
Yes.
with no shirt on underneath.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I do love that look.
No, I just like it. And then back again is our friend, the Duke of Windsor, who was
Right.
like the fashion icon, apparently. He like influenced all of like a lot, not all, but a lot of
lot.
men's fashion
Mhm.
in those decades.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's interesting to me that they were more as a sporting jacket rather than what we think about when we think of like the 90s power suit, right,
Yeah.
where that came back, right? So it's interesting to me that when these came out they were more a sporting jacket
Yeah.
rather than a formal jacket.
Mhm.
Laura?
Well, I had read that it was originated from the naval jacket. So it was originally designed to keep warm, but it evolved into something a little bit more casual and then took a whole nother turn
Yeah.
where you put a pinstripe on it and it's dressy,
Yeah.
Andrea, anything else?
I just have that I loved that that's when the like plaid for spring because it was lighter, herringbone for winter because it's a heavier. That then the men started to switch it up a little bit and did a pattern jacket, but you had to have a solid pant. You did a solid a pattern pant with a solid jacket, like kind of. But what Michelle said, and I loved, was women in a double breasted. Which again, this was something else that I had. I had it in pink and I had it in cream, except I had tapered pants instead of the wider bottom. But I absolutely love that look on a woman. Barbara Stanwyck wore it.
Mhm.
Katharine Hepburn,
Greta Garbo.
Greta Garbo, like it's amazing. Like the nipped waist, it's a look.
A whole vibe.
And we just have to say, since Michelle said Zendaya, we have to like send out our congratulations since they're now married. I mean, good on you, Tom. Like good on you. You win.
She's definitely a fashion icon.
Oh my God.
She so
Everything
is.
she wears.
I fucking love her fashion.
Mhm.
I can't think of another pairing of a designer and and an ingenue
Mhm.
that's much better than La Roche and Zendaya.
Yeah.
He just knows how to fucking clothe her.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She looks amazing. All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
So double-breasted, let me just, because we didn't really talk about what that means. You talked about how much y'all love them and who you love wearing them. But so it's any coat, jacket, waistcoat, or a dress. I said men's fashion, but it does count on a dress. We're talking about buttons here,
Yeah.
right? And
Buttons.
so, oh boy, overlapping front flaps, which has on its front 2 symmetrical columns of buttons, right? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah.
By contrast, a single-breasted jacket has a narrow overlap and only 1 column of buttons. So I think you can kind of imagine the difference between those 2 things. So when we say double-breasted, that's what we're referring to, is typically have 1 to 4 rows of buttons, each containing 2 buttons in a row, or a column, and only one of the rows is functional. So like one, you don't button all of those buttons. One seems like it's just for looks for sure. And so each fastening method on a sport coat or a jacket is used. They use number on number terminology. So the first number is the total number of front buttons. The second is the number of fastening buttons below the lapels. This was all very fascinating to me for some reason. I don't know who thinks of these things or why, but so the second number is also the number of corresponding buttonholes. That made sense to me. So functional buttons and how many buttonholes that they match. So 6 on 2, 6 on 1 are common button stances, but there's other things exist. And I was just thinking about like different builds that people have and how this wouldn't look good on some people because of their build. So some people find 6 buttons overwhelm their short torsos, not judging, but 4 or 6 button configuration, only the bottom one fastens would be a better option for, I'm not a designer. I don't know why I'm going this deep into this, but to Michelle's point, the 4-button double-breasted jacket that buttons at the lower button is often called the Kent, after Prince George, Duke of Kent. That's everything I found, and I was fascinated by it. So,
Lori, can we qualify whether we're talking about rows or columns of buttons?
oh wow,
Like where? No, I don't mean you. I mean when you say 6 by 2 and only 2 of those buttons are functioning, are we talking the top 2? Or we're talking one.
I think we're talking this way.
Yeah, the column.
The column.
Yeah,
yes.
I misspoke when I said row.
No.
It says column in my notes, and I said row.
Well,
But
I mean,
we are
basically,
speaking columns.
It could be a vertical row. I mean, you could call it what you want, but
It's a column. Columns up and down, rows
Yes.
across.
yes.
And I
just
misspoke.
always see like
That's okay.
Jimmy Stewart or
That's
Cary Grant like unbuttoning the top, like when going to a just like the yeah.
Okay, number 4, puffy sleeves. That is Lori.
Well, this was again a look that you accentuated the shoulders because they were trying to minimize the waist. So they were very into ruffles or bows, puff sleeves. It was meant, kind of gave a glamorous kind of look, interest to it. I mean, you see a lot of the 30s ingenues wearing these. They would come in with these floaty sleeves, and it was just a sort of ethereal, I think.
Oh,
But that's what I got from it.
good
Yeah.
word. Andrea?
I just have that puffs emerged in the early 30s, but it was popular in both day wear and evening wear.
Yes.
Like you could see it, and it came with like a lot of times with the shearing or the smocking, and then it's a decorative device, but to which is what basically I'm mansplaining Lori, like this is what Lori and saying exactly what she said.
No.
But yeah, puff sleeves were, and sometimes you would have the sleeve that would puff like this, but then you could push it up and it would be poofier. And yeah, still around today.
Yes. Definitely.
Michelle?
To what Andrew was saying was like early in the decade they were lower, like the puff was lower, and then later it got higher on the shoulder. I whenever I think about this, it just makes me think about like a Holly Hobby and
I knew you were going to say
Green
that.
Gables
Yes,
and
yes.
shit like that. So it doesn't, while it was designed, and I think so kind of to Sean's point about like the 30s getting minimized, like I don't think about this necessarily. I'm not breaking the rules yet. Because it was
Towing the line.
designed to make an hourglass, like to give you the illusion of the hourglass,
Yes.
right? They were up here, higher, puffier, so that as you looked, it would slim towards the middle. But this always makes me think of like Little House on the Prairie and shit like that, which to me is not at all, like it doesn't make me think about femininity and sexiness. It just makes me think like, why did my mom put me in that dress in my kindergarten? Well, like fucking school picture where I like, oh,
Yeah, there was certainly the
Ugh.
puffy sleeve in the 70s and 80s. Was not great. The 30s, I think they did it right. Because for me, I
sure.
think Joan Crawford of these looks where they were specifically made for them.
right.
Whereas
yeah.
they were mass
tailored
producing it
for them.
when it
Yeah.
resurged. They were mass producing it. It didn't really give the best flattering.
If we go all the way back to the 16th century during the Renaissance, So women, I don't know what a farthingale is. I'm sure that at least one of the three of you know. So during the 16th century, the farthingale, hoop skirt worn under dresses to create a wide, voluminous silhouette. But to balance out the fullness of that skirt, dresses often featured puff sleeves that were tied at the shoulders and elbows, creating a rounded, billowing effect, to Lori's point. And then they went away for quite a while. And then I don't know, I couldn't find why, but somewhere in the 30s, puff sleeves make a significant comeback. So adding romance and structure, it says. But so large puffs at the shoulder that narrowed to the wrist in the beginning. I think that was what Michelle said, creating an illusion of a smaller waist, stronger shoulders, and then utilizing fabrics like satin and velvet for dresses. And there were even some sweaters. But I don't know. I'm sure it's AI, but the computer told me the trend embraced femininity with a hint of drama. But Joan Crawford, Betty Davis. So back to movies, right? Like film stars wear it. Now everybody needs it.
And also back to dramatic actresses. Those two weren't a lot at the, there were a couple of comedy things, but they were always, and also they weren't traditional beauties. I'm not saying they weren't.
Right.
They weren't traditional beauties.
Puffs sometimes combined with subtle shoulder pads exaggerated the shoulders, making the waist appear smaller and creating a more feminine hourglass silhouette. I think back to Michelle again. But I found some names that I still don't know what they mean, but mutton sleeves, gathered puffs, and butterfly sleeves.
Mutton and lamb sleeves are your, Michelle was saying here was where the puff went, and you said to the wrist. That is to the wrist.
Okay.
Because it's like a
Like a lamb.
What about
like a leg of lamb.
butterfly sleeve?
Isn't that where it floated? Like it was split here and then up?
Look at Andrea.
Yeah.
Okay.
She knows her.
And so all the ones we're talking about right now, just to tie it back to our first topic, often made from bias cut fabrics for the drape. Anytime I can tie it, feels so cool. Number 5. Oh, evening capes. But let's just talk about capes. So Andrea.
I love a dramatic cape. Shocking. I just thought I would talk for Michelle there. I love a cape that is velvet to your ankles, lined in satin or silk. I am not a fan of a capelet because that's what I would call that. A lot of what I saw in going through evening capes were a lot of capelets. I don't, it was you could take it off after. It usually would reveal a strap or a strapless. It was supposed to be like, okay, here we're at dinner and I'm still very ladylike I've got this little capelet, I've got the bow or the little clasp, and then we're going to go out dancing or somewhere, a club, anywhere after, and then off. A lot of prom gowns and kept that up for years. But yeah, evening cape, love capelet. Meh.
Wow. Michelle.
I like that this is a crossover trend too, right? They're big, dramatic, as you pointed out, capes for men, right? Big, broad shoulders, down to the ground, right? Often heavy materials, velvet. But for the women, the capelet, but also sometimes they would like sew in the cape to the gown so that it matched and it would hang lower. But I like when something will cross both gender lines, right? That you could do that. And I do like when, really, and I don't know, maybe you can tell us, that the Dracula that we know and love in our brains has a cape, right?
Yep.
Did he always?
No.
Why? Because Bela Lugosi asked for that in costuming and then made it his signature look the Dracula you picture with the cape and the whole thing and the high collar is a Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
Universal monster
And
costuming.
She's smart.
Yeah.
Lori.
Well, the thing that I wrote down that I kind of found fascinating was that it provided drama and didn't ruin the silhouette, which You don't want to, I mean, if you go to that much trouble, right, to get a cape and a gown and the whole thing, you're going for it. And plus, a lot of people were still walking. There's
Mhm.
not a lot of cars. So they had to stay warm. But if you don't want to ruin the silhouette, and I'm with you about the cape lid, it depends who's wearing it, but it doesn't always flatter you like a long, dramatic cape
Mhm.
would.
So I have two things about capes. We're not superheroes, so
Edna
cape.
mode.
No,
Edna mode.
I knew one of you was going to bring it up.
I was waiting for Michelle.
No capes.
Sure, no capes.
But we're not superheroes, so capes are fine. But there is these two instances that Jean Lanvin, Parisian haute couture. I don't even know how to say half the words I put in my notes, but she was renowned for luxurious and imaginative construction of evening wear, including several lavish capes. So among the masterpieces she made was referred to as the moonlighting cape. And this cape, defined by its soft green hue, intricate embroidery, and a dramatically functional fur-lined collar. So looked cool, kept them warm, right? So the moonlighting cape is like the number two. The number one, and this story, we don't have time for it because it was crazy. But there's this American socialite and influential interior decorator, Elsie de Wolfe. She was known as Lady Mendel, but she commissioned a cape from designer Elsa Schiaparelli. And so the resulting creation was this monumental velvet and silk cape known as the Apollo of Versailles. So what Wolf wanted, well, Schiaparelli's design served as this homage to Wolf's view out at her enormous house. But there was this fountain, the broader landscape of the Parc de Versailles, which these things were visible from de Wolf's elegant home within the estate. Just imagine what that looked like. Sorry. But so this cape utilized a profusion of gold embellishment inspired by the statue of the Sun King, what this cape looked like. But there are pictures of it online if you care enough. Like if you're a crazy person like me, go look it up. Both of those capes seemed really cool sounding. So number 6, like I said, we actually had a pre-production meeting, but I said in that to y'all, some of these things that I listed as a certain thing, I want to talk more broadly. This is number 6 is Hollywood waves, but what I really want to hear about is hairstyles in the 30s. So if you want to focus on the waves part, that's fine. But hairstyles of the 1930s is Michelle.
I think that this was mainly just a move to go back to a more feminine look from the androgynous kind of 20s look. So women were growing their hair longer. It's and just in general, and when the Hollywood waves are just softer, flowier, longer, big volume. Rita Hayworth.
That's exactly.
Veronica Lake.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the same, again, the influence from film, right? Like if you, and I mean, we still do it, right? You see somebody on the screen and you're like, oh my God, I love that look. And then you take a picture to your
Right.
stylist and be like, can you do this? Can you do this?
Just thinking about when Demi Moore looked great with that hair in Ghost. I will too. So let's cut my. No.
But that would, yeah. And
Damn
so
you,
it was,
Demi Moore.
and it was easier for like, for the modern, woman to achieve because they didn't need as much product. They didn't need as much equipment or whatever to make the wave, as opposed to the finger waves where you really had to like, right, super glue that shit down and make it hold.
Lori?
I agree. And all of them pin curls. So it's practical. People use a lot of barrettes, like sparkly barrettes or pin curls or like, just it was a lot less maintenance for sure. And the femininity of it. It made it easier because they could kind of go with their own pattern of their own hair to make it do what they wanted to do.
Yeah, Andrea?
Everything these two said, one of the favorite things that I read about this was in like Hairdresser Weekly magazine in 1939 said, whereas we do not endorse long hair, we do, because then that's when styles started to get shorter again in 39. But yeah, I love a lot of the styles of the 30 hairstyles just because they were easier, in my opinion, and we haven't got to the 40s yet. So, but yeah.
So one of the things that so everything you said is a move from, and we've talked about this quite a bit, but from the 20s to the 30s, focusing on silhouettes, focusing on, and a lot of it was the movies, the movie stars, but also what looked good on camera for actresses at the time. But the deep side part was another one of the things I saw, that because it creates this flattering line across the forehead, and but it looked really good on camera. And so whether or not you liked it or not, it just looked good on camera. Laura, it looked like you had a thought about that.
Like she was referencing Veronica Lake,
Yeah.
Rita
Yes.
Hayworth.
Oh,
Because it was very dramatic and super sexy. And so I think that's like, yeah, take a lot of influence from film.
yeah.
What's funny is you have those two back to back, and the first thing I thought when capes is I always picture it, and it is of that time. The film is not made in that time. Is LA Confidential when but remember, she has been done. She's undergone some work to look like Veronica Lake, so she has the hair. It's all very feminine and striking.
And yeah, so I'm interested about number 7. I want to get to this to hear. Oh wow, I kind of set myself up for that. But number 7, I have backless dresses. But Andrea, you already kind of mentioned that as part of the when we were talking about gowns in general. So, but Lori, talk to me about the idea of backless dresses in the 30s.
It was like we were talking about earlier, with the high front. And so it gave a little bit of the drama that we're referencing, because they just went low. It just it kind of rounded the shoulders without being too severe, kind of softened them a little bit. And it kind of gave interest, like maybe you weren't comfortable with showing, because at that time, cleavage they didn't really love it.
Oh, I would have hated the 30s.
So
You
So
would
I
have.
think that's where they were able to be a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more showy, but with the back, it wasn't, I don't think, considered so risque, and still kind of sexy, in my opinion.
Yeah. A lot of drama on this episode. We've said drama a lot.
You're gonna say what I was gonna say.
Well, it's you, Andrew.
Is it me?
Yeah.
I feel that a backless gown is more risque because how's she keeping the twins at home?
Oh,
So that was, I mean, it was like you did have, because underwear changed then too. A corset had to be lower, a girdle had to be, you had the boning was now. So some women were going without.
Boning.
Some women were going without foundations. Which you do see in some of those films, if it got past, because you would see like nipples would be hard because you have that material rubbing. Do you need me to say it slower, Sean?
Slower.
Probably a good thing he's wearing sweats.
But I find it more risque. I used to feel more exposed showing my back than showing anything in the front.
Well, so we went from a decade of showing a whole lot of leg,
Yeah.
right? Real short, whole lot of leg,
Mhm.
whole lot of arms,
Mhm.
right? Then the gowns in the 30s are floor length for a good portion,
Yeah.
right? All the design goes down. So now, if you want to feel sexy or you want to look more feminine, like, what are we showing, right? Well, here's what we're showing.
Yeah.
We're gonna cover your legs now, but we're gonna show your entire back, right? And so, and it was like to show off your tan.
Yeah.
That was actually, I was like, so they're just out, just free balling out on the right. No tan lines, right? You can't have tan lines if
Yeah.
you're wearing a backless gown. And then that's the beginning of taping the girls and wearing, uncomfortable shit, or Nothing at
Nothing
all.
at all.
Right.
Nothing
Because you
at
also
all.
have that clinging to those dresses.
Right.
The
They
fact
were
that they cling
silk.
to everything. Yep.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
And silk can be, you can't have a line. Like I told you the other day when those pants I put on, I was like, but I wouldn't wear panties with these. Or sorry, Michelle, underwear. I wouldn't wear underwear with these. But but it is very this is so fantastic. Yes, I feel that like there was so much being covered up, but just what is underneath. Because that's the thing too. Like sometimes you have to, because sometimes a corset or a built-in is going to actually show lines against your dress.
Which is like,
Well,
you said,
good-
Yeah,
it's
silk or satin.
Yeah,
that gives
yeah, you can't.
There's
So-
there's nowhere to hide.
Just think like Mia Farrow in Death on the Nile, or oh God, who is her counterpart in that? Who's Jackie? Think of her. I can't remember your wonderful name, British actress, but Diana Rigg in Evil Under the Sun. Like these are all like just or those actual films. Yeah, that's it.
Plus,
you can edit that
Betty
part out.
Davis or Joan Crawford could make a dramatic exit with one of those.
Heck yeah,
dresses.
you've got to like it swish it around. And
Yeah.
Joan was a big fan of the diamond cutout
Yes.
because she had strong shoulders,
She did.
like she did. And then I mean, we're not going to get into a whole Joan Crawford thing. We'll just,
We could do a whole episode on Joan Crawford.
we can.
Complicated lady and Betty Davis together.
Ryan Murphy already did that with his
Oh,
broke ass.
yeah,
making shit up.
Number 8, Oxford bags. So, I mean, I don't know any other way to describe these pants. That's what they go by. I had never heard this term before. I looked, in looking them up, I now see what these are dumb. They're just
That's what
ridiculous.
I have that.
But let's get into it. Number 8 is Andrea.
Yeah, I did not. I knew of the pants. I did not know what they were called. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, were there like handbags made out of Oxford? That was. And then I looked and I went, no. But the fact that these are wide leg to be worn over knickers. Why are you wearing 2 pairs of pants?
And I hate to do this to you, but that seems to be a false.
Oh, that was in the
story of.
vintage.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what Andrea is referring to?
Shut my shit down.
No.
Can't
That's
have
not what
another
I'm.
podcaster making up shit.
No. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying the first thing that I'm trying to figure out why they're called Oxford bags. So with a lot of these things, I'm trying to run down the origin of why it's called that. And so the story I think you're referring to, but the story I first found and that I was going to go with is that Oxford banned what do you call them? 4x4 or plus fours. They banned plus fours, and then because students wanted to wear them so bad, they started wearing these pants to hide the plus fours. But that actually is not that is not true.
Because plus fours were for sports.
Yeah.
Right? So they were showing up to lectures.
Okay, thank you. I was
In
like,
their
wait a
plus
second.
fours,
This is a bunch of
and
jeans
it's
and
fucking
tights.
Oxford, right?
Yep.
So they were like,
You can't-
we'll be formal, or you'll not come to class. And so the
Okay.
The story
lore is that
Okay.
they then would wear these over the top of
Okay.
the plus fours to
I didn't even see
to
that
meet the
origin
requirement
story.
to go to class, but then
Yes.
also to still be able to just like
And I liked
fucking
the
tear
story,
away.
but then as I read more about it, it was like, this is dumb. This story doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
And I know
Okay.
that I said like a big wide leg, and I love it. Okay, but
But not these.
44 inches
40
is
that's what I have too.
ridiculous.
I
And
said, come on.
just to be clear, if we're talking about modern time, Levi's, a pair of 501 jeans, a loose cut pair of 501s is 16 inches at the ankle. And these went up to 44 inches.
Some of those pictures I saw, I was like, this is ridiculous. To which I did imagine you could wear, why would you? But these underneath, but it's almost like the men, and this is shocking because this is very not in a male thing, where they just wanted to be better than the women with the wide leg trousers. So the guys had to go a little bit bigger to compensate. These feel like the pickup trucks we see today in.
Boy, Michelle, anything else that we haven't discussed
Well, I
with
think
these?
that like so there was there was a lot of this in Harlem in clubs because they were easy to dance in. So there was a function, maybe
Okay,
not the
okay.
44s, right? But they were rolling on 32s, maybe, right? So because they were easy to dance.
That makes
So like
sense.
if you think about the scene in It's a Wonderful Life,
Mhm.
where they're doing
Yeah.
the dance contest, and they're doing the jitterbug and the Lindy Hop and all those fucking
Mhm.
things, it was easier for them to dance.
That makes
in,
so much more
right?
sense. That
So,
that I will.
functionally,
I read too that they said that this was something the working man could get behind because it could have a casual look because they're not wearing fucking +4s and knickers.
mm-mm.
Because come on, no, they're not. But these ones, they were like, okay, all right. And trust me, they weren't the 44-inch guys because it's always a JR that does that.
Did we go through the Michelle? Yeah. And Lori? Lori.
Talk to Lori.
I think
Lori.
I said it all regarding these. That it is a look. Sure.
Lori, you're
You
so
always
nice.
know when Lori does it like she.
Just
It
the
is a
best of
look
us.
You're
for
so
sure.
nice.
Don't, people, I can't bag on anyone's fashion because it's so
Bag.
individual, but it's a lot. I don't know if it's a practical. I get the fellas want to be trendy with the +4s, but hey, you can't tell me what to do. Can't say, I bang on that, but yeah, maybe rein it in.
Oh.
Maybe rain it.
It's a little bit. I'm Sean. They're a little dumb.
They're ridiculous. Let's just be honest. Okay, so number 9, the fedora, the felt fedora. Yep, like the one on in between the three of you there. But number 9. Oh, and fitting, Michelle.
Oh, I brought this because I love a hat. I own so many hats that I never ever wear, and this is one of them. I like that. This was kind of an everyday, like an everyman's hat, right? That, but again, made kind of popular by Prince Edward again. He started wearing them, and then you can individualize it by how the crown is dented. Like you could make your own, you could, if you were so inclined, you could one off the rack and then make your crown or the top any way you wanted to. And it was kind of just like it was an everyman's hat.
Lori?
Yes, I agree. 100%. I also read that it originated in 1882 play and became popular with the suffragettes.
Oh,
Which
I could
did
see it.
not know.
I could totally see that. I did not know that either.
Yeah,
I could see that though.
Yeah, and then it was adopted in the 30s, Prohibition era, gangsters, detective film, noir film.
Mhm.
Coming back to film. But I think you're right. It's every man's hat, and it was warm. It was practical. It was stylish. Checked all the boxes.
Easy to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
Based on that, it was made of felt or
Yes.
some kind of
Yes.
blend.
Anything, Andrea?
I have pinch crown, snap brim, Jason Mraz.
I liked it. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
He's yours.
Yeah, I think that I suffered from this. Maybe it's just me, but when I was looking at the felt fedora, I thought of men, and it's probably the detectives and the gangsters. But to Lori's point, 1882 in the play Fedora, I mean that's what it's called. But Sarah Bernhardt wore a soft brim, center creased felt hat. And a little bit different than like what we think about
Suffragettes would jump on that.
for men, but it generally on the brim is it's soft brim, so it can be like a part of it is kind of folded up. I don't know what you would call that better than folded up, but just one part of the hat on women is either in the back folded up or like on the side folded up on a fedora hat. But then so that's why that was popular. You already said that. Women's rights, liberation, defiance. But then Prince Edward, Michelle's boyfriend again. So he starts wearing them in 24, replaces the bowler hats that we talked about in the 20s. So that we moved from bowlers to fedora hats. Yeah. So I
Also,
like a fedora hat, but
think
Michelle.
about Marlena Dietrich.
Yes.
Oh,
Like,
and then
she
if
wore the shit out of one
Mhm.
of
really
those.
did. And yeah, she would wear them kind of low.
Mhm.
And I think it's not much different than the modern day baseball hat where you shape it to how you want
Yeah.
it and had some give to it so you could make it how you want it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Your
They were
hands are-
durable too, right? So
Mhm.
they could, because you were wearing it like every day in the weather and whatever, you don't have to protect it as much as you would maybe something a little nicer or more porous, like like a straw,
Mhm.
Mhm.
We keep giving a lot to Hollywood and to Edward VIII, but I think what a lot of it comes down to, and I find her a detestable woman. I do not care for her.
Oh,
But Wallace
Wallace
Simpson,
Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
a lot of this is
Mhm.
the way Edward dressed was Wallace Simpson.
Who is Wallace Simpson?
She was a divorcee who Edward VIII, who was set to be king, chose to be with her and abdicate his throne. And she was also a Nazi sympathizer, which is why I'm like, fuck you, Wally. But she was fashion, and she did not give a fuck. I mean, she had to be great at something because a guy gave up his kingdom, like,
Right.
like,
It was a big deal.
but she was fashion. She wore a lot of this stuff before anybody else did, and it was the nouveau riche liked her, but the old wealth was like, they were fine at first, and then I think they thought they were tainted. But she was a fashion icon.
Okay. I learned several things, but I think Michelle pretty well described it, but I'm trying to remember. I just want to, when we're talking fedoras, they're defined by their center dent crowns, often with a pinch, medium to wide snap brims around 2 to 2 3/8 inches. Oh, Mel doesn't listen to this podcast, so it's good. Made from quality materials like rabbit.
Nope, I was
Or-
afraid somebody was going to say bunny felt.
or beaver felt. But then also featuring cross grain ribbon bands and deep earthy colors, browns, grays, blues, blacks. Yeah, so just to make sure we're all speaking the same language here. Number 10, the Spectator shoe. Lori.
Classy. When I think of the Spectator shoe, I think of a classy look for me because I think I don't know, they just look cool. They just, a lot of times they were two-tone and
Mhm.
they were a little bit flashy, and I love a little bit of a flashy shoe, so maybe that's why I like them. I see they were originally, what I researched was they originally used to hide dirt with their two-tone design. They started as a menswear style, and then women wore them as a statement look. I love a statement. And then they were also popular with the 30s swing dance scene. That's what I found.
Huh?
I think I just love them because they're flashy.
I want to come back to that, Lori. Andrea.
I fucking love a Spectator pump. I had 4
Oh, boy.
pairs
Nice.
in the 90s, all two-toned. Pretty Woman, that scene in Pretty Woman, I was like, I need this at the polo scene. So I have that belted dress, which will come later. I had that whole look. And then I just bought them to go with like different outfits. I really should have moved somewhere that I can wear those outfits for. Poor Michelle, because she had to go a lot of places with me dressed like.
Yeah, we're going to fucking Tower Records, Andrea.
She's not lying. She literally said that once when she picked me up. She was so mad. Oh.
Michelle, anything else other than taking Andrea to Tower Records?
I thought it was interesting that you think about it as being classy, because what I found was that originally it was more associated with kind of seedy, underworldy kind of, right, because they were also called correspondents. And the legal term correspondent is for the third party of an affair. So if people are in court for a divorce, right?
Know that.
The correspondent is the side piece. So they were associated with those
Yeah.
types of people, because
Yeah.
those like
Oh.
think about like, I always think about like the fox in the Warner Brothers, right, with the big chain and the right, the suit and the whatever,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So
100%.
right, they would be the people who were right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
and they wore that style of fashion.
oh.
It's interesting.
I
That's
ju-
very cool. I did not. That is so
yeah,
cool.
I guess classy is really not.
It
I think it
looks
dep-
great, but
But I
the
think it
but the
depends on what you're wearing. Like if you are kind of giving into the whole thing where it's real flashy, then it could go the other way. But if
yeah.
you like wearing them like Pretty Women on the polo field, classy, right? But I can see where you're coming from, and I did not know that.
Well, and because
That's
it's in
amazing.
Oxford, right? Because
Right.
Yeah.
it's a true Oxford. It just
Mhm.
is a different style. It was, more sporty, so it didn't come back into favor until,
Yeah.
till women started doing it,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah. Women are doing it for themselves.
Sisters.
So going back, it's what I had found was the contrast when you, again, Lori called them classy. That in the difference between England and America about this shoe is in the 30s in England, this shoe was considered too flamboyant for a gentleman, and therefore was referred to as a tasteless style. But in America, Michelle's point, and you're not wrong about a third party, but a co-respondent is just anybody in a divorce proceeding. Because here's the quote: "The shoe was called the co-respondent because it was the kind of thing that someone in a divorce petition would have worn in the days when it would have been accompanied by a stained shirt and a battered brown hat. That was what these shoes were thought of in America." And then, to all y'all's point, until women started wearing them, and then they were seen as classy. So you're not wrong,
Back
Lori.
the night.
Y'all took it back, but
Yeah.
it was all about gentlemen or men wearing these, and in America, co-respondents in England, tasteless. But then they became classy through that. But Michelle pointed out, but the Spectator, I'm sorry, why it's called the Spectator shoe is English shoemaker John Lobb designed the first shoe as a cricket shoe. So to wear to cricket matches, to observe. So called a Spectator. Or a co-respondent, which is my favorite. But this is a style of low-heeled Oxford, semi-brogue, or full brogue constructed from two contrasting colors. So typically having the toe and heel cap, and sometimes the lace panels in a darker color, darker than the main body of the shoe. And to Lori's point, mainly from a dirt. Again, they're going to a cricket match, so you can kind of hide dirt. But common color combinations included a white shoe body with black, brown, or tan toe and heel caps. But they used other colors, obviously. But it's generally an all leather shoe, but it could be constructed using canvas, mesh, or suede. The original Spectator, which what I found was 1868 was when it was created, was originally constructed of willow calf leather and white buck or reverse calf suede. The white portion was sometimes made from a mesh material for better ventilation in hot weather. But that's everything I found about it. I love the contrast and the difference in opinion between England and America, and then those led to the different naming conventions. But like everything should be, y'all fixed it. Women fixed it. So, okay. Any final thoughts now that we've been through the first 10? Anything else about this decade?
No.
I do have a thought.
Lori.
You said something about I can't remember if Andrea and Michelle said that the 30s kind of got lost, and I think
Hey, wait, that was the one thing I said.
Is that what you said? I'm so sorry. I think because it had such a muted color palette. There was a lot of beige, there was a lot of gray, there was a lot of brown. So I think
Yeah,
when people think of that, they're like, it was practical, but then they had very flashy accessories like the Oxfords or the sleeves or things like that. So I think it can because it kind of blended in, and there were such major things that went on in the 20s and the 40s that I can see why that may have gotten
Makes
lost.
sense.
But I think they still had their kind of fun
Oh
things.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
My
Okay.
Nordstrom's card thought so in the 90s.
What's that?
I said my Nordstrom card thought so in the 90s. But they had very cheap things in the 30s.
They did.
That's so. I was thinking about that when you were talking, but that we talk about how things cycle, right? Things come back through, and it's just interesting that the '90s was where, according to you and your Nordstrom card, where the '30s fashion came back, where it's brought it up again.
Yeah, I think it helped too. It did. There wasn't a huge resurgence, but there were some things. But also, I had a mom that was born in the 30s, and
Interesting.
she
Okay.
she liked the fashion. So there would be things she'd be like, you know what, this would look cute on you. Like, it, she had an eye for it, which looking back, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, she kind of dressed me like as probably if she would have had the money, would have dressed then.
Okay.
I would say it came back a little bit in the 70s as well.
Yes.
Just
Oh,
a tiny
yes.
little bit,
Okay.
but not as much as the 90s, where it like almost replicated what but in a different, like the
Mhm.
pants. Like there was a
Yeah.
lot of stuff in the 90s that came back from the 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank all three of you for all the research, the notes, everything you brought. This was great. Like I said, I learned a lot. That's what I'm looking for. So anybody listening, leave a comment. If we missed something, maybe I was wrong about Oxford bags. Maybe they were to hide +4s. I don't know. But somebody help me here, please. Follow, subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it. I don't remember if I announced it last week. I might be repeating myself, but we're now on Apple Podcasts. We have not been on Apple because the system I was hosting the podcast on did not like Apple, just like me. But we're on a new.
Steve Jobs was a horrible dad.
We are hosting our podcast on a new platform, and it likes Apple Podcast, unlike Sean. So we're on Apple. You can find us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So it's not like we're not out there. And so, you can find us on Instagram as well. We're on Blue Sky. So just find us on socials, connect with us. I'd love to, even if it's just to say I suck at this or these three are crazy, hit us up. And until next week, take care of yourself, and we'll see you then.
So swing to the future, the past in our sight. We regret nothing, the capsules tonight.